Shabbat Shalom, Cantor.
Shabbat Shalom. Please join me on page 24 as we welcome Shabbat. La 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 da 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 Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem Lishalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, la la la, ya la 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 Baruch Huni v'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Seitchem Lishalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
If you'll join me in taking a wonderful Shabbat cleansing breath in with Shabbat, out with the rest of the week, leave it at the door. It will be waiting. One more cleansing Shabbat breath. If you know the person beside you, please wish them a Shabbat Shalom. If you don't, please introduce yourself and then wish them a Shabbat Shalom. So in our Shabbat, in our tefillah in general, in our prayer space, we always talk about Shabbat not being a place, but time, a moment where we get to just be, where we get to rest. But resting, oddly enough, in our day and age is the hardest thing to do. To do is easier than to just rest. Does anybody else experience that? Do, run, run. Yeah. Yes, 2 hands for Bill Toller on the piano. Well, you're a pianist, that makes sense. So I want to, I've shared this before, that's when we lead our young kids at Gan and Gil, when we lead them into this space sometimes, I told you they always look up at the ceiling, and they always comment that it looks like a spider web. And it kind of does. So this evening, we really have this beautiful space because they built this so thoughtfully that all around us we get to see nature. And what connects us to God more than nature? And so tonight, I want to do something else. I want to try the horizontal and the vertical for just a moment. So as we get to enjoy not only nature, we also get to enjoy the fact that we are in community, and I forget not all of our viewers, wherever you are around the world, you are technically in this space with your neshama, with your soul, but also to try to think about what it looks like to create a Shabbat energy, and if we could ball it into an entity and lift it up into this space, and see if we can make this room feel different in about an hour from now. And so we're thinking across, and we're thinking also upward, not just towards God, but creating something. Because in our tradition, we understand that the greatest form of giving, of offering, of healing is by creating. And when we sit at Shabbat services together, we are creating. We are creating many things together. And I want us to have that visual as we enter Shabbat, and I hope you'll join me. If it's too theological and too philosophical, just drop it and do what you like to do. But I hope it's inviting for our space on this Shabbat. And what better way to bring in the Shabbat than to invite Bibi Weinberg-Katz to light our Shabbat candles, because God bless, she has a very big birthday this Sunday, which I will let her announce if she wants to or not. Nope, so it's a blessing. It's a blessing.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our day, be among those who have kindled light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lihadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with the mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Sabbath.
Amen.
Amen.
And as we speak about energy, we send Bibi all the good health and all the goodness in our hearts on this special occasion. Friends, as we welcome the Shabbat, we invite you to join us on page 20 for the Lecha Dodi, our poetry of thinking about Shabbat like a Shabbat bride, a Sabbath bride. And we will be doing verse 1, 5, and I will invite you before verse 9 to rise when we get there.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekabela. Shamo וזכור ודיבור אחד השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורק קומי אורי, 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 שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה
לך דודי לקראת כלה, בנשמה לקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, בנשמה לקבלה. I invite you to please stay standing as we continue with the Baruch Hu, which can be found on page 28.
Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, Le'olam Va'ed.
We continue on page 33. Please join me at the bottom of the page. Let us read together. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol, all these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch Ata Adonai, Ohev Amo Israel. Page 34.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Avad.
Please be seated for the Via Hafta. Page 36. Via Hafta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha vehayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uvshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leod al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskeru ve'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim le'eloheichem ani Adonai Eloheichem asher hotzeiti echem Me'eretz Mitzrayim, liod lachem le'elohim, ani Adonai Eloheichem.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. We thank Laura Martel for being a shlichat tzibur. Chaverim, this evening we're going to do a Mi Chamocha in honor of Juneteenth, and it is going to be on your handout, the yellow page that you received when you came in. And now Lisa Martel will be joining us. The whole Martel family.
Everyone should be on their best behavior. I'm just pulling soloists out of the crowd tonight. You've been warned.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nenetar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, osef eleh. And the river is wide, and the river is wide, and the river is deep, and the river is deep, and the river is standing between you and me. Thank you, Lisa. Friends, we continue on page 42. But first, 43. At the top of the page. Let there be love and understanding among us. Please join me. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Israel ve'al Yerushalayim. Friends, now we continue on page 42 with Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom vehamidenu shomeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Ushmor tzeitenu uvoenu lechaim u'shalom me'ata ve'ad
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom vehamidenu shomeinu. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom vehamidenu shomeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom vehamidenu shomeinu lechaim. Chaverim, we continue with the Amidah, and I invite you to please rise as you are able and join us on page 46.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'koneh hakol V'zocher chasdei avot ve'imachot U'mevi geula livnei v'nechem Lema'an shemo be'ahava Melech ozer u'moshiach u'magen Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor leolam Adonai, Mechayecha kol atah Rab lechoshia, Morit hatal, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umechayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot, Umidom melech, melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yachalalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
You may be seated. We continue on page 57.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu, v'yamecha Yisrael, u'tefilatam b'yahava tikabel, u'tihi liratzon. Tamid avodat Yisrael, Yisrael amecha, Baruch atah Adonai.
I invite you to please join me to read together on page 61 at the top. Grant to us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Israel, bashalom. Page 60.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom.
שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם, וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם, שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם, תשים לעולם, תשים We continue silently. Page 62. אלוהי נצור לשוני מרע ושפתי מדבר מרמה, מילים קל עלי נפשי תדום ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה. אלוהי נצור לשוני מרע ושפתי מדבר מרמה, מילים קל עלי נפשי תדום ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה. אלוהי נצור לשוני מרע ושפתי מדבר מרמה, מילים קל עלי נפשי תדום ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה. אלוהי פתח ליבי, פתח ליבי בתורתך, נצור לשוני מרע ושפתי מדבר מרמה, מילים קל עלי נפשי תדום ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה. אלוהי נצור לשוני מרע ושפתי מדבר מרמה, מילים קל עלי נפשי תדום ונפשי כעפר לכל תהיה. יהיו לרצונים רעיפים והגיון ליבי לפניך, אדוני, צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. Friends, in this moment, we take some time to think about those who are in need of healing on the outside that we can see, healing of the soul, healing of the mind. Sometimes we cannot see those things that ail others. And we don't just think of those who are ailing, we think also of their caretakers who invest time and energy, and most importantly, their love to take care of those who they love. On this Shabbat, we think of Marcy Curtis, Priscilla Dan, Sarah Felder, Marilyn Goldfein, Gail Greenfield, Gary Habercorn-Halm, Richard Joseph, Robin Lieberman, Peggy Meehan, Rosalind Seed, Grace Weltman, and Yonatan Adi Ben Chaya Rachel. Friends, if you are thinking of someone who is in need of healing, or if I have mispronounced any of the names, I invite you to say their names now as my gaze meets yours. Friends, we think of those who cannot ask for healing, and we think of those around the world who are ailing and are not here in this present moment. And we continue with the tefillah of Misha Berach on page 253.
Misha Berach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach imotenu bechor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Amen. Friends, and while we are filling this room with good energy to help those in need of healing, we also conjure those moments. We call them shehechianu moments, but they're really moments that honor being in this moment in time. And so I invite anybody, if they have some wonderful or good news, or even just news that they are enjoying in this present moment, and they want to share with this community, I invite you to please do so. Eddie Madrid, look at that big smile on your face. Well?
We are seeing my in-laws for the very first time in 3 years. They're here with us.
Wow.
And Fidelia.
Welcome.
Are they from, did they come to visit from Honduras?
Yes.
Honduras.
Bienvenidos, bruchim habayim. Yeah, that is definitely celebration where the Emmys' parents are here with us on this Shabbat, and we wish you guys a particularly Shabbat Shalom. I can tell you that I've been hearing about your visit for a very long time, for weeks and months, so we're very excited that you're here.
Rabbi, we already know that Bibi is celebrating a birthday, a special milestone birthday this Sunday, Bibi.
Yes.
But also I know Laura Martell obtained a master's degree this past week.
Heyo.
I think it was a master's in Via Hafta chanting. Was it in speech pathology? That was your minor. What was the master's in again? In speech.
Wow,
Mazel tov,
beautiful
Laura.
mazel. Our
Mazel tov.
baby's all grown up. Harriet, tell me everything. Woof. Oh my gosh, Harriet just got back from Canada, surprising her sister for her, does she want the entire universe to know what number birthday it is? 80th birthday.
Beautiful.
Mazel. Oh, that's so great. And it was a surprise. Blessing. That's wonderful. Oh, Yofi, Harriet, welcome home.
Rabbi, I think Dr. Danny Glick has a mazel tov. Did you have something special happen in your family?
Okay. Not yet.
Okay.
We should probably ask these questions not on a microphone.
Oh, well, it's good to see you. That's what I meant to say. Very good to see you, Danny. I'll check with my
More great
my boss
news.
later.
Tell us, friends.
We had a great performance today at the Juneteenth celebration at the African Culture Garden. We
Beautiful.
did a talent show and won second place.
Mazel
Oh my
tov.
gosh, Mazel, you won
Fantastic.
second place?
Yeah, with excerpts from our show Kindness Grows, and that's why we're wearing our.
You're
Kindness
still in your shirt.
Rose. I love this.
Mazel
That's
tov.
beautiful. Mazel tov on just performing, but the win is just an extra bonus. That's
there-
beautiful.
Rachel Gross.
Hi.
After a week of being closed, I am so elated to announce that Bialys is reopening tomorrow. It may not seem like a Shekiana moment to some people in the room because we are withholding the bagels from Temple one more week.
This is under Kaddish. Yay, Bialys is reopening, and we're so excited for you. B'sha'a tova and Mazal tov, all in good
The
time.
entire Jewish community can have a sigh of relief. Thank God.
We're going to call the other synagogues and let them know as well. This should be everybody's Shehechianu. Yes.
71.
73rd birthday to 75, and you came to Temple. What a good Jew.
Wow. Oh,
Oh,
mazel
you
tov.
and he have the same birthday? You and your son have the same birthday? Oh, my, and he turned 31 today. That is
Mazel tov.
wonderful.
Happy birthday.
To the both of you. Oh, that's wonderful.
Oh, there's another one.
And there's a Suzanne Utley in the
Okay.
back.
My mother is visiting me from California
Wonderful.
since I moved here last July.
Oh my
So happy you're
gosh.
here.
Welcome. Where do you hail from, Mom? Where in California do you hail from? Carmel, California. Oh, everybody said, ooh. Do you have extra rooms? Because people are coming to stay with you, evidently.
Everybody's
Okay.
like thinking wine
Just be
and
sure to give us your
bagels.
address and your phone number and your social security so we can come visit you.
Is that wine country as well? Is Carmel wine country?
Is that wine country?
Is Carmel wine country?
It is now.
Okay.
It
Okay.
is. Okay.
Suzanne.
And water. Bring your bathing suits, everyone. That's right. Dan Utley, Rabbi Dan Utley, is in, Suzanne is sharing with us, is in full swing at Camp Wise. And actually, I don't even think I had a chance to tell you, I was out there this week visiting we have like 70, CMO has like 70 kids at Camp Wise. Did you guys know that? We have a lot of kids there, so it was so wonderful. And Dan really, Rabbi Utley does an amazing job out there and adds so much ruach and neshama. And I will share that, just a tip from me to you, I am an immigrant, and so I didn't go to summer camp. I was like, oh, summer camp. My parents were like, go play outside, that's summer camp. So I showed up, and I was like, hi, kids, here I am, your rabbi. They're like, did you bring donuts? And I didn't know that that's a thing. So I thought I was bringing wisdom, and they told me where to shove the wisdom. So if you go for a visit, bring donuts. I learned that the hard way.
I think we should celebrate that epiphany that you had by singing the Shehechianu. Shall we join together? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
So there is a story I want to share with you that is not from Torah itself, but it comes from the great rabbinic tradition of Midrash. And Midrash is one of the most distinct and beloved forms of Jewish interpretation. When the rabbis encountered a gap in the biblical text, a character whose motivations were unclear, or a moment that raised more questions than it answered, like many things in our tradition, they imagined their way in. And they asked, what happened here? And they create details to help kind of fill in that gap. And in this week's Torah portion, we hear the story of Korach, and they had a great deal to say about Korach. So here we are. We're in the wilderness. Do you feel the heat? Korach is one of the great Levites, a man of standing and learning and considerable political skill. And he decides to hold a little public demonstration. He gathers a crowd together and poses a question to Moses in front of everybody. If a talit is made entirely of blue wool, the same blue as the tzitzit thread, right? This is the tzitzit thread. Does it still need a single blue thread twisted into the fringes? So if the whole talit is blue, do we still need one in the fringes? Surely the whole garment is already the color of the commandment. And so Moses answers him, yes, it still needs the thread. So Korach asks again, if a house is filled floor to ceiling entirely with Torah scrolls, does it still need a mezuzah on the doorpost? And what do you think Moses says? It still needs the mezuzah. Correct. So the crowd starts to murmur because these questions sound reasonable, like the question of someone who genuinely cares about getting Judaism right. And that is exactly what makes them dangerous. The rabbis preserved this midrash because they understood something true about how power works. Korach was not asking because he wanted to know the answers. He was asking Moses in order to make him look small, to make the entire architecture of covenantal life look arbitrary, so that when the doubt was thick enough, the people would turn to who? Korach, exactly. And then Korach throws the ultimate line in Moses' face. He says, Kulam kedoshim kol ha'edah uvtocham Adonai. Aren't all of the people holy, the entire community, and God dwells among every single person? So why do you raise yourselves above the congregation of God? All are holy. Isn't that what we believe? And yet, the earth opens and Korach is gone. He is swallowed up into the earth. And so here's what I'd like to suggest. Korach's failure was not that he lacked the right words. He had all the right words. His failure was that he had hollowed himself out, reduced his Judaism to a tool, an instrument of personal advancement dressed in the costume of justice. He showed up with credentials and ambition and the vocabulary of holiness, but without the self, without roots, without anything real to give or to offer. And the ground swallowed him up. On this Shabbat, we mark Juneteenth. And I hold the two together because they press against each other in really important ways. June 19, 1865, Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, bearing General Order Number 3, announcing that all enslaved people were free. The Emancipation Proclamation had already been signed 2.5 years earlier on January 1, 1863. The words had already been spoken in 1863 in the Emancipation Proclamation at the highest level of government, and yet, in Texas, as much of in the South, those words had simply not been delivered. Enslavers continued to hold people in bondage because there was no one present with the power or the will to compel compliance. That gap between a proclamation of freedom and the actual delivery of it did not close in 1865. It did not close with Reconstruction, dismantled within a decade through political cowardice and organized violence. Decades later, when the Fair Housing Act of 1968 finally outlawed redlining, the systematic denial of mortgages to Black families, the damage had already calcified into the geography of American cities, into property values and school districts and generational wealth in patterns still legible on any map today. Juneteenth is not simply a celebration, it is a reckoning, a confrontation with the distance between the words we speak and the world we build. And that distance is exactly where Korach lives. Because Korach too spoke the right words, empty of any rooted substance, and changed nothing. The proclamation existed, but the delivery never came. But Shabbat asks us to point towards what is possible. So I want to tell you the direct counter narrative to Korach. In the summer of 1908, a race riot convulsed Springfield, Illinois, 2 miles from Lincoln's tomb. White mobs burned Black-owned homes and businesses, murdered Black residents, and drove roughly 2,000 Black residents out of the city. The violence sent a message that even in Lincoln's city, the promise of full Black citizenship could be undone by terror. That riot set something in motion. A white socialist journalist, William English Walling, wrote a searing account and issued a public call. Who would stand up? That call reached W.E. Du Bois, whose book, The Soul of Black Folk, had placed racial injustice at the center of American intellectual life. Ida B. Wells, another person who answered the call, the journalist who had spent decades documenting racial terror at enormous personal cost. And alongside them, a cohort of Jewish leaders. Rabbi Stephen Wise, then the young leader of New York's Free Synagogue, Rabbi Emil Hirsch of Chicago, Lillian Wald, who built the Henry Street settlement into a center of immigrant life, and Henry Moskowitz, a Romanian Jewish immigrant working in social welfare. What happened between them, these African American and Jewish individuals, was not coalition in the abstract. It was coalition formed from the recognition of a shared wound. The Jewish leaders in that room did not arrive as generic humanitarians who happened to be Jewish. They arrived as Jews, fully and rootedly. They carried in their bodies the memory of Kishinev and Odessa, the pogroms, the running. And that memory was not baggage. It was the very thing that opened their eyes. When they looked at lynchings Ida B. Wells had been documenting, they did not say, "This is not our story." They said, "We know this story. We've lived this story." And in 1909, they co-founded the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP, was co-founded by African Americans and Jews. And for the next 6 decades, that coalition was a central spine of the American civil rights movement. And by some estimates, roughly half of the volunteers who went to Mississippi during Freedom Summer of 1964 were Jewish. This is no surprise. We all know that African Americans and Jews have been working together for a long time. But here is what is news. Rabbi Stephen Wise did not do any of this because it was good for the Jews, though he understood that a more just America would be better for everyone in it. He did it because his Judaism made a demand of him. B'tselem Elohim, the image of God present in every human face, is not a poetic sentiment. It is a moral claim about the irreducible dignity of every single person. His Jewishness was not the obstacle to coalition. It was the source of it. We live in a moment when many Jews have learned to preface their identity with an apology, to reduce their Judaism to a set of values so universal that they could belong to anyone, and in so doing, arrive elsewhere with nothing distinctly their own to give. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Zichrono Livracha, wrote, in substance, that only those unafraid to assert their own dignity can truly care for the dignity of others. That a universalism not rooted in particularity will ultimately collapse. You cannot give from an empty vessel. Rabbi Wise arrived in 1909 carrying centuries of texts of memory, the wounds, the covenant. His particular Jewish self was precisely the gift that he brought to the table. If you remove that, there is no coalition. There is only Korach, words without roots, proclamations without delivery. There is a teaching from Rabbi Simcha Bunim of Pesichta that every person should carry 2 slips of paper in their pockets at all time, one in each pocket. In one pocket, it says, Bishvili nivra ha'olam, for my sake, the world was created for me. I am at the center of the universe. And in the other pocket, Ve'anochi afar ve'afar, and I am but nothing but dust and ashes. The first comes from Mishnah teaching that each person contains an entire world, which we know is true. Every person matters. And the second comes from Abraham standing before God to intercede for Sodom, acknowledging his own smallness, even as he insists on speaking up. The person who carries only the first slip, whose liberation language becomes a costume, cannot see anyone else ever. Their justice becomes a mirror about themselves. This is Korach. But the person who carries both, who knows their own irreplaceable value, irreplaceable words and worth, and their own smallness simultaneously, has a self to bring, has something to bring to the table. The founders of the NAACP carried both slip of paper all the time. That is why what they built lasted. So in good Jewish form, I want to close where we began, with a thread. A talit made entirely of blue still needs a single thread. A house full of Torah scrolls still needs a mezuzah. The thread is not a decoration. It is the mark of intention, of kavanah. It's a reminder. It is worn against the body that holiness is not something you possess. It is something you practice, carried deliberately into every single room you enter. There are Jews today who have begun to shed their peoplehood, their amiut, their sense of Jewishness, not only regarding Israel, but the whole inheritance, in order to fit into certain spaces, afraid that loving a Jewish state makes them unwelcome at some tables. Rabbi Stephen Wise was not afraid. He wore his Judaism into every room he entered, and it was not a burden he shed in order to belong. It was the very source from which his caring flowed. We are Jews. We carry a specific and demanding lineage The reform movement that produced Rabbi Stephen Wise, that helped write the Civil Rights Act around a table with NAACP colleagues, that sent rabbis to march in Selma. But a lineage is not a trophy. It does not confer righteousness by inheritance. It is a thread that we choose to carry deliberately, visibly, at real cost sometimes, into every moment that demands it. Korach stood in the wilderness and said, Kulam kedoshim, everyone is holy, but he really meant only himself. He had no roots, no covenant, no self to offer, so the ground opened beneath him. Rabbi Wise and Ida B. Wells and W.E.B. Du Bois stood in the wreckage of Springfield and said the same words, and then spent the rest of their lives trying to make them true. Juneteenth and Korach arrived together this Shabbat, pressing on us the oldest question in the Torah. Do the words we speak in this room cost us anything when we walk out the door? Do we carry the thread? The question tonight and always is whether we mean it. Shabbat Shalom. My friends, I invite you to rise as you are able and join me on page 282 for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו ככם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו
You may be seated.
Ozi vizi baradia vai Yeshua Ozi vizi baradia vai Yeshua Ozi vizi baradia vai Yeshua Ozi vizi baradia vai
Friends, at this moment, we turn our thoughts to those who are no longer with us, but we think of often whose shoulders we stand on. On this Shabbat, we think of those who were laid to rest this week: Rhoda Hyatt Gellis, Amy Kitzlinger, Jay Schultz. We also think fondly of those who were laid to rest in the last 30 days: June Garson, Pam Glosserman, Daniel T. Weidenthal, Ronald Newman. And we think of those whose yahrzeit fall at this time: Dr. Alan Bortz, Scott Braverman, Ernest Brule, Marjorie Brule, Harvey A. Cohen, Rose Gilbert, Julius Greenfield, Mary Jeffries, Nancy Weiss Klein, Milton J. Klein, David Kyman, Norman P. Kyman, Ruth Newman Schlang Levine, Leah Lichtenstein, Betty Nosenchuk, Sheldon S. Mann, Ruth M. Phillips, Debbie Sutker, and Alice Weiss. Friends, if you have lost someone in the last 7 days, 30 days, or are marking a yard site, I invite you to say the name of the person as my gaze meets yours, or if I have mispronounced any of the names. If you have lost someone in the last 7 days, I invite you to please rise as you are able. If you have lost someone in the last 30 days, I invite you to please rise as you are able. If you are marking a yard site, I invite you to please rise as you are able. And as a caring community, if it is your tradition, I invite you to please rise and join me for the Mourner's Kaddish on page 294. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהא שמי רבה מבורך לעלם ועלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהא שלם הרבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. May their memories be for a blessing, and together we say, Amen. You may be seated. Friends, as always, we have so many wonderful things going on at the temple. On the back of the sheet, you can read some of the wonderful things. For those who are celebrating tomorrow, happy Abba Day, happy Father's Day, I hope, or happy birthday in some cases, or happy both. And I realized Blaise had some wonderful news that I didn't share, so I'm sorry, I'll do that now. Her Abba, her father, is getting married on Father's Day tomorrow, and that is we're so excited for him and for you and your whole family. Mazel tov. Tomorrow, text study, 9 a.m., and this will be with Rabbi Klein, and we have our communal Shabbat morning service tomorrow morning as well at 10:30. Also, I just want to point your attention to next Friday night is Shabbat B'Yachad, and it is also going to be a celebration of our interim senior rabbi, Rabbi Andy Berlin. It is her last Shabbat with us, and then she will be leaving as we start anew with Rabbi Josh Caruso starting as our senior rabbi on July 1. So many wonderful things happening this summer. We hope you can be with us for all of them. Cantor.
Well, Rabbi, we're going to close our service. The words are on your handout. And honestly, Rabbi, in the spirit of the Dvar that you delivered this evening, I think this is a perfect marriage of sermon and song. So please join me as we sing We Shall Overcome, both with familiar English verses and Hebrew verses. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Oh, deep in my שאנו נתגבר היום. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we'll walk hand in hand someday. Yad b'yad nelech, yad b'yad nelech, yad b'yad nelech b'yachad. Ani מאמין באמונה שלמה שאנו נתגבר היום. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall live in peace someday. Let's sing now without the piano. Nihya b'shalom, nihya b'shalom, nihya b'shalom b'vo hayom. אני מאמין באמונה שלמה שאנו נתגבר היום. Yes, we shall overcome someday. Friends, our thanks to William Toller, our thanks to all who participated, all of you who were joining us in person and via live stream. We wish you a Shabbat Shalom, and we invite you to join us for Kiddush and Motzi in the community commons. Shabbat Shalom.